The Democrats are all very strongly against this bill. They believe that it is harming the poorest and the weakest in society by providing tax cuts for the wealthiest. But the problem is that the Republicans themselves are divided. They don't seem able to agree on it.
The Vice President J.D. Vance was forced to cast a tie-breaking vote after more than 24 hours of debate in the Senate. Republican Senator Tom Tillis warned his colleagues that signing the bill will mean that the administration will break their promise to not cut Medicaid.
Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs.
And well, the president set a deadline of the 4th of July for lawmakers to present him with a final version so it can be signed into law. So it was in the Senate. It passed by squeakily with one vote cast by J.D. Vance. It's now back in the House and it's currently at a standstill. Just tell us what's going on and why, Harriet.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Nancy Pelosi made me laugh this morning when she said it's only a big, beautiful bill in the eye of the beholder. And if you think that, then you have got very blurry vision. So, the Democrats are all very strongly against this bill. They believe that it is harming the poorest and the weakest in society by providing tax cuts for the wealthiest. But the problem is that the Republicans themselves are divided. They don't seem able to agree on it. Donald Trump summoned a group of them to the White House earlier this morning to try and sort of allay some of their fears and get them on board. But it's by no means certain that that's been accomplished. And yes, plenty of drama on Congress right now, Kate.
Does it feel inevitable, this, Harriet? I mean, it is one thing, trying to make sure the bill stands up and people voicing their concerns over it. But it is another trying to get something past the will of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. A lot of people are very much frightened of Donald Trump and of the huge megaphone that he has. It was interesting that he really went for Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, who said that he couldn't back the bill. Trump said that he was going to put up a primary challenger to Tillis, and Tillis then said, well, I'm actually not going to run for re-election anyway. So, the power that Trump has to intimidate and force people to do what he wants is very real. But at the same time, these members of Congress, they know that there are real concerns for their constituents. So it's going to potentially take at least 12 million people off their health insurance over the next decade. And these are constituents for many of the Republicans too.
So we still don't know whether there are enough Republicans in the US House of Representatives supporting this for it to go through. So we're still not entirely sure of the numbers as it stands, Harriet.
Yes, that's right. I mean, this morning, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, he was frantically doing a roll call because this was all done very much at the last minute. And it's stormy weather in DC in more ways than one because a lot of the flights were cancelled last night because of thunderstorms. So, members of the House were forced to sort of drive across country, several of them, just to try and get there to be part of this debate and to cast their vote. But it's not at all clear yet whether the numbers are there. And for some of them, actually, this is just a normal part of the process. They say that, that there's always this lengthy backwards and forwards about the terms of the bill. And the July 4th deadline imposed by Trump, it has to be said, that's artificial. That's created by him to get a sense of urgency because he wants to say it's done.
So that is never going to happen by the 4th of July, which is, obviously a very important date for lots of valid reasons. It sounds good to get it done by the 4th of July, but ultimately will not happen.
I mean, it sounds good. Trump would love to have it to crow about. He's had quite a lot this week to make him happy, and he would love to add this to that list. But whether it's doable, I don't know. I mean, there is still time. It could be done later tonight. It could be done tomorrow. It's possible. But yes, the country does grind to a halt on July the 4th.
OK, all right. Well, meanwhile, the US president has claimed that Israel has agreed on the terms of a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza and has encouraged Hamas to also sign the deal. The terrorist group has suggested it's open to a ceasefire agreement with Israel as long as certain conditions are met. like an official end to the war needs to be written in there. Well, earlier I spoke to Mustafa Barghouti, leader of the Palestinian National Initiative Party based in the West Bank. He told me President Trump isn't being clear with his presentation of the proposed ceasefire.
Trump maybe tried to create some confusion here, but he said Israel has agreed to necessary conditions to finalize a deal. That this phrase doesn't mean that Israel agreed with the deal. It's just necessary conditions to maybe finalize the deal. So up till now, there has been no statement from Israel or any Israeli government leader that they have accepted any specific deal. Hamas said that they are not rejecting the deal, but the details of this deal, according to my knowledge, are still being finalized.
Mustafa Barghouti there. Is Donald Trump trying to portray this as something more important than it is? How much cast iron detail do we have on how close we are to seeing a ceasefire agreement? And that is not an actual ceasefire, but just seeing the terms of the agreement that Israel's apparently signed up to.
Well, I think only two things, Kate, are certain in this. One is that Donald Trump loves the idea of being the peacemaker and the person who gets this deal done. He really wants to resolve it. He has even said that he likes the idea of winning the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts on this. And the second thing we know for sure is that Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to be in Washington, D.C. next week. There's been quite a lot of preliminary meetings today, yesterday, ahead of that meeting, because Trump really wants Netanyahu to arrive with a deal pretty much done so that they can just sort of shake hands on it and this agreement is reached. Israel is making encouraging noises, but yes, the Palestinian side is much more cautious about what this all means. Hamas sources were saying that it essentially seems very similar to previous plans that they have rejected. Trump is using his usual threatening language, saying that the Gaza authorities need to take this seriously, or else the outcome will be far, far worse. But I think it's right. It's fair to say that there's not a huge amount of detail on what this actually is going to all mean.
Yes, and look, we've had other temporary pauses, temporary ceasefires between Hamas and Israel before, and they have been broken in the past. There is quite a bit of concern about whether this can stand up and actually Israel's appetite to end the war as well. You know, all this comes, of course, as Donald Trump pretty much has conceded, at least for the moment, that Russia and Ukraine just get on and keep fighting each other. That was his statement well over a month ago now. He seems to have sort of stepped back from trying to solve that one too, at least for the meantime, Harriet.
Yes, I mean, he and Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, have both said in as many words, you two need to sort this out or else we're just going to move on. And that certainly seems to be what they are doing. I think also it's worth remembering that the meeting between Netanyahu and Trump comes just a week after that successful strike on the nuclear facilities in Iran. They're, of course, still now debating exactly how successful that was, but operationally, at least, it was very successful. So Trump really wants to seize this moment and progress with this and have something concrete to say in relation to Gaza.
All right, well, let's talk about our final story. Paramount, the parent company of the news broadcaster CBS, has agreed to settle a lawsuit filed by Donald Trump over a 60-minute interview with former presidential candidate Kamala Harris. As they could have tipped the scales in favour of the Democrats, Paramount said it would pay $16 million to settle the suit, with the money allocated to Trump's future presidential library. But it also stated that the settlement does not include a statement of apology or regret. Oh, apologies for that. That's my apology to you, as that's just sprung up out of nowhere. Harriet, this is quite an extraordinary story, isn't it, for a sitting president to go at a TV network like this?
It really is. Yeah, it's very unusual. But the backstory to all of this is that before the November election, Kamala Harris sat for an interview with 60 Minutes, which is sort of the prime news show in the United States on network television. It's a sort of a mainstay of the American diet. And she, in this interview, she gave an answer which the Trump campaign said was then heavily edited because then when the interview actually aired, it was a slightly different answer she gave. So Trump took legal action. He initially wanted to get $20 billion in damages. But yes, they have agreed 16 million. It's not actually the first time he's done this, Kate, because earlier in the year, he sued ABC News. That was slightly different. That was after one of their anchors, George Stephanopoulos, falsely said that Donald Trump had been convicted of rape, and he has not. But ABC paid $15 million for this. Now, normally the networks would fight, but Trump has such control over the media that it seems to many that they are rolling over and are sort of accepting Trump's will on this. So it's got a lot of people in the media very concerned that they are making these payouts and comes at a tricky time for the media, I think, overall.
Look, thanks so much for being with us, Harriet. Really appreciate it. US correspondent Harriet Alexander there with our daily dose of the Trump dump. Cheers, Harriet. Good to speak to you.